What is up today, Dallas Cowboys fans, Cowboy Nation? Playoff time this weekend for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be facing the 9-8 Green Bay Packers at AT&T Stadium, Cowboys Stadium. The Dallas Cowboys sitting at 12-5. We do know these are two different teams on two ends of the spectrum, in my personal opinion. Although the Green Bay Packers are playing much better, they are still a team that the Dallas Cowboys should completely be able to outman and outpower, because at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys, I feel like have more talent, and obviously more guys that are more accustomed and ready for the postseason. Let's be clear, but I will say one thing is for sure: the Green Bay Packers, although they don't have that many veterans, we're talking about with playoff experience. You're talking about a lot of these young kids on the Green Bay Packers that don't even know any better, and sometimes that can be more dangerous, or at least just as dangerous as a team that does have some high playoff expectations for themselves, and also just high experience. You're talking about a team in the Green Bay Packers. Do not be surprised if the Cowboys do not completely come in here and force the Green Bay Packers to be one-dimensional. And I'm going to say to force them to be one-dimensional is to try to take away that run game as soon as you can. Having Jonathan Hankins back in the mix, who played against the Washington Commanders, he's going to be big for the Dallas Cowboys. Since coming to the Cowboys, we have naturally seen just an improvement at that interior. And when we do not have Jonathan Hankins in the mix, we see the Dallas Cowboys continuously get gashed and gashed. You're going to have to continue to shore this thing up. And I would have liked personally, right before the postseason, to try to add some more bodies to the front seven. I'm going to say more so that interior. Whether you're looking at a guy like Ndamukong Suh, a guy you potentially could be looking at just to come in there and get some reps, but also just shoring up this linebacker group a little bit more, because we have been very thin, having to move some guys around since no longer having Leighton Vander Esch. But the Cowboys themselves, we're still in great position, and as long as we come out here ready to play and fire off the ball, we'll be in a good space. I'm going to say, obviously, we're looking at the team. You look at, I guess, a few of these guys that you could talk about for the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to say at the wide receiver position, keep an eye on Jaden Reed. I believe the rookie out of Penn State, and also I guess I've spoke about him a little bit in the last video, kind of pre-game in this some of these matchups. The Green Bay Packers versus the Dallas Cowboys. The guy Dontavius Wicks. Do not be surprised if you see him make some noise, because I feel like when you're going to focus on a quarterback like Jordan Love, a guy that's still finding his footing in this league somewhat, you're talking about a guy that's not afraid to just spread the ball around. We see the Dallas Cowboys, the way that we run our offense more so, it's a lot of CeeDee Lamb matchups and finding those matchups and getting him the ball as early and often as possible, obviously compared to the way we were doing things early on in the season. But the Green Bay Packers, if you're going to look at the system, and sometimes that can get you in a little bit more trouble because you don't have one guy completely to just try to lock down at the receiver position. They still have a little bit of talent. I'm not sure if Christian Watson's going to play for this team. I know he's been banged up, but the Green Bay Packers, like I said, this is a very capable offense, I'm going to say, speaking. But if we're going to compare, let's go back and look at the numbers just a little bit. The Cowboys offense going into this game, wrapping up the regular season, leads the entire NFL in points. We're talking about 29.9 points per game on the offensive side of the ball. Then you're talking about in total yards, 371.6. Third in passing yards, 258.6 yards. 14th in rushing. We know it's been an up and down, I guess, journey. No longer having Ezekiel Elliott, who was getting a lot of those red zone touches, and just, I guess you want to say, that downfield, just lowering your shoulder type runner in comparison to what Tony Pollard brings as more of your elusive, get down the field as quick as you can type back. Obviously not having that in the mix, and talking about Rico Dowdle, what he's been in and out of the lineup, I still feel like this is going to be a guy that can be very important to the Dallas Cowboys offense going forward in this postseason run. I'm talking about is going to be a guy like Rico Dowdle, just being able to be that secondary punch to a Tony Pollard running that feature back role right now. But the Cowboys 14th in rushing with 112.9, and what's most important, 48.3% on third down, which will be very important in this upcoming game. That, to me, I'm going to say now, if you're going to look at the other side of the Packers defense, they're 10th in total points allowed, 20.6. You're looking at 9th in total passing yards given up per game, I believe 206.6. 7th in total yards, 335.1. 26th in rushing, 128.3. So teams sometimes can find some success. I feel like if the Dallas Cowboys are going to be the best they can be, it's going to start exactly on what we're going to do in the run game. I'm not looking at us to have, I'm going to say not have, but not use our running game as kind of one of those, I guess, tone setters. That's not really what I'm looking for the Dallas Cowboys, because at this point you will kind of be running yourself into a wall if you're just not sticking to what your natural successful formula is. And obviously this is a passing team. Let's start there. This is a passing team. But this run game, to me, if we're able to just kind of pick our spots, I feel like that's what's going to be most important when you talk about Mike McCarthy calling up the offense for this postseason run. I'm going to say hopefully the Dallas Cowboys go on. It's going to be our run game and the timing, not even necessarily the frequency, but when we're running the ball, because you do want to also just keep the defense balanced themselves and not being able to know. We do know of, obviously, talking about CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, talk about Jake Ferguson, Kevontae Turpin, who could possibly be an X factor in this offense. You never know what Jalen Tolbert or Michael Gallup could even bring to this offense in the postseason. But if we're going to be the best, we're going to have to, I'm going to say in my personal opinion, we're going to have to stay as balanced as possible. This is going to be a game, and I mean balanced in the sense of just knowing the offense is not going to be just Dak, and just pray and hope that everybody else can just continues to make plays, because we do know in the postseason, teams are now, especially defensive coordinators, you're able to key in, you're able to lock in on just specific weapons for teams. And I will say the Dallas Cowboys going into this game, although they are going to have Jair Alexander at the cornerback position playing against CeeDee Lamb, I still feel like we're going to be very capable. But a resemblance of balance. That's what I'm going to call it. Just give me a resemblance of somewhat kind of balance. And it doesn't even have to be 50-50. I'm talking about 70-35 could be okay. Just to me, I want the Dallas 65-35. Excuse me. I'm just looking for the Dallas Cowboys to be aggressive and just keep opposing defenses off balance as much as possible in this postseason. So I'm going to say once again, like I said, and then if you're going back and looking at the Green Bay Packers offense, obviously these numbers to me, I'm going to say they don't mean as much as they did early on in the season, because now what you're looking at is a Jordan Love type product where they're kind of just playing way more free. I think I said in their last 10 games, I believe they're 7-3. So this is a team that's kind of picked up some steam offensively. Look at the Green Bay Packers coming into the game. The final regular season numbers, looking at the 12th in total points, 22.5 points per game. 11th in total yards, 345.5. 12th in passing with 233.4. 15th in rushing with 112.1. 47.1% on third down percentage. And they're a very capable offense when it comes to being able to get, because we do know at the end of the day, the most important thing is continuing drives. And going back, if you're doing that comparison, like I said, the Cowboys offense converting on 48.3% on third down. And then looking at the Green Bay Packers, they're giving up 41.1% on third down. And then looking at the Green Bay Packers offense, once again, 47.1% on third down. And the Dallas Cowboys are giving up 37.4% on third down. To me, this is exactly to me where the game is going to be won and lost. We could talk about the matchups. We could talk about just being able to force some pressure, get after the quarterbacks. Both sides, I'm sure, going to be looking to do that. But the Dallas Cowboys, to me, in this game, the success, if you look at the final score, to me, it's going to be which team was able to get off the field on third down defensively and which team was allowed to convert as much as possible on third down offensively. Because if the Dallas Cowboys, to me, in my opinion, come into this game and handle their business, I do not think the Green Bay Packers can stick with this team. I'm not sure if it's going to necessarily be a blowout. I'm not looking at that range, because we're talking in the postseason, a 10-12, 14-point win could be looked at as a nice, solid blowout type win. But if you're looking at just, to me, what I feel the Dallas Cowboys do the best and the Green Bay Packers do the best, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys should be able to outlast this team. And this could possibly be a game you start to see the Cowboys pull away, if not earlier, about the third quarter, later on the third quarter, and hopefully be able to coast off to a victory in the fourth. The Cowboys offensive line is going to be very vital to this game as well. We're talking about hopefully being able to have some guys that are actually just healthy. Looking at a Tyler Smith, who's going to be very important, who's had a nice season at the guard position. I believe Tyron Smith, and we're looking at the All-Pro. I believe now the AP All-Pro teams have leaked. Obviously, you're looking at the NFLPA's version of the All-Pro teams, and of course that goes around. You have CeeDee Lamb on the first team. You're having guys like Brandon Aubrey. You're having Zach Martin, I believe. You're having you have 5 Pro Bowlers, I believe, on that team. But then Michael Parsons was the biggest name left off. People are kind of asking questions. Is he not getting his respect around the league? Any of that stuff. At the end of the day, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm just looking at hopefully being able to say that we are able to just have some guys that are going to be, even in these conversations, that's big for the Dallas Cowboys in general. It means we have lots of talent on this team. And Tyler Smith has been one of those guys. I believe he's on the second team AP All-Pro, and also I believe joined by Tyron Smith. These are going to be guys that are very important to this team, because if we're talking about some success the Green Bay Packers could find, it could be at those edge positions. You're talking about Rashawn Gary, I believe, leads the Green Bay Packers with 9 sacks. And then right behind him, you're talking about Preston Smith, I believe, also has 8 sacks. We're talking about a team that the Green Bay Packers, if they're going to have any chance in this game, is going to be forcing some pressure and forcing mistakes by the Dallas Cowboys. And if the Dallas Cowboys are going to have some success, the offensive line is where it's going to start, the trenches. We can also get into, obviously, Terrence Steele has not had a great season, and I'm not the biggest fan of what we've seen since coming back from that injury, but hopefully this is just one of those development years and a guy being able to progress and get himself back to his normal being. But we'll see, because at the end of the day, we say the postseason, it's about, again, we're talking about just forcing turnovers and forcing mistakes. If you're able to see a guy like Terrence Steele being beat repeatedly, now you can start to see a little bit of pressure forced on the Cowboys offense, because what we also have seen, and sometimes I haven't heard it really being talked about too much, and yeah, we can talk about the final success and the final results, but a lot of these big plays the Cowboys have been getting, we can keep it honest and be very honest about it. A lot of them are coming off Dak Prescott using his legs, getting outside the pocket, and keeping his eyes on guys downfield. That's kind of where some of these big successful plays have come. It's not also methodically necessarily as if we're just blowing teams off the ball in the passing game or the running game. So this offensive line is going to be very important. I want people to understand the Green Bay Packers do have some weapons on the defensive side of the ball. So if you're not ready and you're not focused and locked in, we do know these bad mistakes can catch up with you. We're talking about penalties. We're talking about just inopportune mistakes. These are just, again, some things that Cowboys are going to have to make sure they stay away from. We spoke about it in the last video, that the Dallas Cowboys, if you're going to, one of the key matches we're going to say is the Dallas Cowboys versus themselves. Once again, just staying out of bad situations as much as you can. We're talking about unforced bad mistakes. So the Dallas Cowboys, we have a great opportunity to make something happen. This game will be Sunday. Again, the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys versus the 9-8 Green Bay Packers. The Cowboys having a home game right now is huge, because this team is 8-0 this season at home. I believe 16-0 in the last 16 total games. So handle your business. The Dallas Cowboys have no excuse. All the talk, all the noise, none of that matters from the national media, from the rest of the team, the local media, whatever it is. Go out there, show you are a serious team, show you the real number 2 seed in the NFC, and see where the cards fall at the end of all of this. I appreciate you guys for all the support. We will be back to talk about exactly how this game went. Hopefully, it's going to be a great weekend for us as Dallas Cowboys fans, and we're going to be able to enjoy some of these things the Cowboys have talked about this entire season. We're talking about going back to preseason, going back to training camp, going back to minicamp. It's all been about a lot of talk, but now is the perfect time to show and prove. But as always, I appreciate you guys for all the support. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share. You guys are amazing. The Cowboys should pull out a win against the Green Bay Packers, but like I said, we will be here regardless. I appreciate you guys once again, and as always, go Cowboys.